Esper Blade.
Excuse me?
Yeah, mixing it up.
What is this?
Pretty classic Esper Deathblade deck.
What does he think he is? He's yawning? This must bore him.
4 main deck copies of True Name Nemesis, a little unorthodox there. But other than that, it's your usual smattering of blue, white, and black control cards. And Jason the Mind Sculptor, Liliana the Veils, equipment package alongside Stoneforge Mystic.
Eric Rill doesn't do this.
No, not traditionally.
I'm a little surprised by this non-Delver deck here from Mr. Rill, but Esper Stoneblade it is, and we know this deck has a pedigree, and it's won quite a bit here on the Open Series, so not a bad choice here. Douglas Tolbert playing Dark Maverick, gonna play a copy of Scrubland. Follow that up here with a Deathrite Shaman.
Good opening here for Douglas.
Absolutely.
His take on Dark Maverick, a little unorthodox. Only one copy of Mother Runes in his list. Typically, that is a 4 of. Although he does have 1 copy of Sylvan Safekeeper that he can go find with a Green Sun Zenith, and that approximates Mother Runes in a lot of spots.
That's adorable. Sylvan Safekeeper is so sweet. I played it at my first Grand Prix.
One of the more maligned invitational cards.
That card is great. Me and Sylvan Safekeeper got 20th place together in my first Grand Prix when I was 16.
Was this in Cleveland?
It sure was.
Wow.
It was protecting wild mongrels and creatures with Elephant Guide. Yeah.
Elephant Guide Sylvan Safekeeper was a combo.
Yeah.
That's kind of a combo.
Brainstorm's kind of a combo with your deck.
And fetch lands.
Yeah.
That is also a good synergy because you put back the cards you don't want, and then you know, whatever.
Oh, that's kind of neat and fun. Looks like Real's going to use that combo here, as are most of the people in the room.
Yep.
Going to search out a Tundra, will Eric.
Now, Eric has 4 copies of True Name Nemesis in his deck. That's a really challenging thing for Dark Maverick to beat, of course, especially when supplemented by equipment. So it's going to be a battle between Douglas's Night of the Reliquary, which can set up all sorts of value, whether it's Looping Wastelands or Thespian Sage Dark Depths, versus Eric's ability to get True Name Nemesis into play quickly and then get a piece of equipment on it.
Swords of Plowshare is going to take care of that Deathrite Shaman. And this is part of the reason I think that Maverick, Dark Maverick, what other variants, Punishing Maverick, what have you, have kind of gone by the wayside. So True Nemesis is very difficult for them to beat.
Although Night of the Reliquary for the combo kill does give decks like Maverick a whole new dimension.
Mm-hmm. Athalia, Garden of Thraitman, has shown up to the party here for Douglas Tolbert. See what Rill can do about that. We know that Rill has a couple copies of Wasteland in his hand, and he is going to go Wastelanding to take care of the Scrubland, followed with the Deathrite Shaman. The thing about this this Esper Stoneblade deck is that the power level of this deck is through the roof.
It's all of Magic's hits, basically. And it even gets to play Wasteland in a control deck because you have Deathrite Shaman to leverage your mana advantage. So lots of impressive stuff going on here.
Tolbert does have a Swords of Plowshares in his hand. Looks like he wants to play a Savannah. Definitely has some backup lands to work with. Also has a Dryad Arbor hanging out there. He's going to start by attacking, for 2. Put Rill down to 17. We'll see where he wants to go from there.
He's a little bit pinned by his own Thalia right now. The Swords of Plowshares is his entire turn. He can't even Green Sun Zenith for 1. He would have to do it for 0, and he has the Dryad Arbor in his hand already.
And he's going to cast Swords of Plowshares. It's going to be a 2-mana Swords, but it's a Swords nonetheless. Probably want to get that Deathrite Shaman off the table. That card is just a little too powerful. It also helps fix the mana.
Yeah, it fixes the mana, and with Thalia in play, Douglas has to try to leverage his advantage there.
Well, let's see what Rill wants to do on his 4th turn of the game.
Looks like he's picked up a copy of True Name Nemesis of his own here, so.
That one's tough to beat.
When your opponent's board is Savannah, Wasteland, Thalia, you're usually pretty confident that your True Name Nemesis is going to be good here.
You're in the driver's seat, as it were.
Thalia implies that their deck is mostly creatures, and creatures are not very good against True Name Nemesis. So.
By definition.
Yeah. Just good deck building.
That is
good
really,
analysis of a board.
You're not going anywhere. Job security is what you have. As here is True Name Nemesis. And Douglas Tolbert, you're not allowed to do anything to that. Rill will pass the turn back over to Tolbert, who will take a draw here. You see the Green Sun Zenith, Verdant Catacombs added to the grip.
Now, of course, that is the big step 1 for Eric. Dark Maverick is still capable of overpowering this card, so Eric needs to find either a second copy of True Name Nemesis to really start the beats going, to hold off Douglas's team while also threatening Douglas's light total, or a piece of equipment to put on this True Name Nemesis.
There's Dryad Arbor. That one will not tap for any mana just yet. Not a great hand here for Tolbert, unfortunately. Just has to pass the turn back in the face of the True Nemesis. Obviously no good attacks to be had.
He has to wait, but he is capable of racing.
True Name coming on in.
Things are not bad for Douglas just yet. It's when there's a second True Name Nemesis or a piece of equipment gets involved.
Wasteland going to be the land here for Rill. Patrick, are things bad now?
Now things are officially bad.
Yeah.
Things have officially become bad.
Yeah. Going to Wasteland, take care of the Savannah 2 on the upkeep. Things are really not good now. Caracas the draw. And this is just what makes it tough to be a Maverick deck. Is not every deck has 4 copies of True Name Nemesis, of course. You know, Blue Red for Delver, for example, they have 2 in the main and then 1 on the board. Yes, they do have Brainstorms and Ponders to help find the card, but, you know, you're feeling a little bit better about yourself when they don't have 4 of them. Rill has 4.
4 is a lot.
Yeah.
4 is a ton of copies of that card. But
1 is so hard to beat, too.
this matchup is exactly the type of matchup where you want 4 copies.
Now Thalia just has to hang out on the bench. Can't attack, can't block. Rill with a Brainstorm and a Jace in his hand. Considering his options, looks like 2 copies of Jace over here. I thought he was going to make that more expensive. Make the Brainstorm more expensive too. But Brainstorm would probably still be fine if it cost 2 mana.
It would probably be not quite as format defining, but still would most likely show up.
So Rill's going to figure out what 2 cards to put back. You see the Force of Will in his hand, so he's going to want to keep a blue card with that, and he has the 1 mana to pay for it with the Underground Sea there.
Yeah, Force of Will is a really powerful insurance policy to have here. You don't know if there's something Douglas has to get out of this spot, but if he does have something, it's not likely to be more than 1 copy of a card.
Yeah, seems rather unlikely, as there is a copy of Umezawa's Jitte. As powerful as that equipment is, it cannot take care of True Name Nemesis.
It wouldn't surprise me if Eric still fought over this card, because just gaining life here is a little valuable for Douglas.
Yeah, it's like Jitte is just powerful enough to care about.
Yeah, because Eric gets to, imagine it's basically Douglas's entire turn to cast Umezawa's Jitte here, it's 3 mana. Then Eric gets to untap, attack him for down to 4, and then Douglas needs to do something the following turn to not just die. So
Yeah.
even though Jitte is pretty innocuous on this board, I think Eric is still going to be inclined to fight over it.
I think I agree with you. We'll see if Jitte is the card that is cast, however. It looks like 3 mana is being tapped, so there is the legendary equipment. We'll see if Rill cares to fight over it. Looks like the answer is no immediately, so just does not care. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe Tolbert was a little too hasty there. I think Rill may be considering his options here. As you do see number 3 on our Open Series leaderboard, currently tied with Chris Van Meer. There's your Force Lord moving Jace, going to pay the 1.
Because the 4 life that Tolbert gains, you know, let's say Eric attacks him down to 4. He goes up to 8, so it's effectively another turn because the True Names then attack him down to 6. So it is a little bit risky to allow him to have a Jitte here, and more likely than not, the way that this plays out is Douglas just can't stop this and you win the following turn.
Thoughtseize going to show an Abrupt Decay, Green Sun Zenith, then a backup copy of Thalia. I think this is certainly important here because now Rill gets to see Abrupt Decay.
Yep. And Eric selects the 1 card in Douglas's hand that approximates having game text in this spot, which is the Green Sun Zenith.
Tolbert going to draw a card. He's going to pass the turn back, I believe, but I think he'll be picking up his other cards in just a moment here, as no way for him to get out from underneath all these True Names, and he will concede game number 1. Eric Rill with Esper Stoneblade off the back of 2 copies of True Name Nemesis, going to take down game number 1. It's time to head to the sideboards, and I'm going to start with Tolbert's, and a pretty good place to start are these 2 copies of Zealous Persecution.
Nice.
Those will certainly help. You actually got to like Choke, too. 2 of those hiding out in the sideboard.
You saw Eric in that game, all he had was Tundras and Underground Seas in play, so
Yeah.
Choke could be very valuable here.
2 copies of Thoughtseize, a Scrib Ranger, an additional Thalia Guardian of Thraben, 2 Aethersworn Candidates, a Gaddock Teague, 2 Oblivion Rings, and 2 copies of Rest in Peace. You can make a lot of arguments for a lot of cards here. 2 Thoughtseizes. I mean, Thoughtseize is just a powerful card against a Legacy deck, but Rill does have Brainstorm to hide some of the cards. Also has a lot of redundancy in some of his effects. Does he want additional Thalia? Thalia didn't look so good that game.
I think it's still fine here. You know, when you're playing against these Brainstorm Ponder decks, it's Planeswalkers, it's pretty hard to get away from Thalia altogether.
And O-Ring is actually good against a lot of the cards, I think, in Rill's deck. It is a little bit expensive, especially when you have Thalia in your deck. It can cost 4 mana, but it's not good against True Name. But then again, very few cards are.
It's not like Douglas has a lot to sideboard for True Name Nemesis besides Zealous Persecution and Choke.
Yeah.
On Eric's side, he has a Thoughtseize, a Vendilion Click, a Force of Will, 2 Flush of Storms, 2 Spell Pierces, 2 copies of Abrupt Decay, an Inquisition of Kozilek, Liliana the Veil, a Surgical Extraction. 2 copies of Zealous Persecution and a Supreme Verdict. I think you're going to see the Supreme Verdict come in, 2 copies of Zealous Persecution, just because Maverick is flush with a lot of one-time creatures, Dryad Arbor and Noble Hierarchs and Mother Runes and so forth, Thalia as well. The additional Liliana, the 2 Abrupt Decays, and the Inquisition. So stuff that's good at fighting cheap creatures, basically, I think is what you're going to see Eric bring him.
Both players will finish sideboarding up here. We'll be moving along. If you guys are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, Star City Games Open Series here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Tyler Wynn was our Standard Open champion with Red, White, Burn, lighting people on fire all day yesterday. Did not lose a match in our Standard Open. So again, congratulations to him. It was a very impressive victory, but we're working our way towards crowning a 2nd champion here in Knoxville.
People not really prepared for the Burn deck, and the prevalence of Black Splash Green Devotion, I'm sure, did him all sorts of favors as he made his way through the Swiss rounds and the elimination rounds.
Yeah, if that matchup is as good as it seems like it is, and that is a very good spot to be for the next coming weeks. We've got states next week and all over the country here. And then we've got ourselves in Jersey the weekend after. You and Matthias Hunt will be taking care of coverage there. We'll see if maybe Burn can keep it going in that tournament.
An exciting time to be back in Jersey for
I know you're excited.
Number of reasons.
I know. And even that Monday after is Memorial Day, so you get to relax.
Oh, it's gonna. I mean, I'm staying in Jersey for a little over a week afterwards.
Gonna see the fam?
Oh yeah.
Very nice. Didn't get too early. We were supposed to go to Somerset, but the snowstorm.
Yeah, I haven't seen my nieces and nephews in a little bit, so pretty excited about that.
Dude, that's totes adorbs.
It is.
I'm very happy for you. I was supposed to meet the Sullivan res. I was supposed to meet the parents.
You missed out, man.
I'm a lot to handle. I don't know if they're ready for that.
They would have been fine. They would have been fine.
You sure?
Yeah, they're great people. They're going to come by in Somerset. You're not going to be there, unfortunately, but they're going to drop by.
All right. We'll just keep dodging you. We somehow just keep fading. I think this matchup is probably pretty favorable for Rill.
Yeah, 4 copies of True Name Nemesis and a lot of forms of interaction. 4 Swords to Plowshares, 2 copies of Liliana the Veil, the equipment package. Dark Maverick can definitely win these games if the board gets gummed down a little bit. He's able to get, Mother Runes or Sylvan Safekeeper alongside neither Reliquary, but in the absence of those cards, I think Eric has a pretty big edge.
Yeah, Maverick is a really sweet deck, but it does have a lot of issues with just a lot of the cards on the other side of the table right now. But again, that's part of the appeal of playing Esper Stoneblade is just all the cards are really good.
It's hard to say that, I lost the game because I drew too many copies of any card in this deck.
Yeah.
They're all so good.
Too many Lilianas, man. Just couldn't figure out what to do with them.
I drew my second Deathrite Shaman, and I just knew I lost.
Yeah. That's really how it goes. It is time for a flooded, not a flooded strand, a windswept teeth.
The thing that intrigues me the most about Douglas's list is de-emphasizing Mother Runes a little bit. Like I said, traditionally a 4 of, maybe a 3 of sometimes in these lists. I think his plan is basically to Zenith for his copy of Sylvan Safekeeper most of the spots where he wants Mother Runes.
That's not a bad plan.
It's not quite the same card, but Sylvan Safekeeper is still quite good, and you free up a lot of deck slots, which is at a premium when you have something like Green Sun Zenith that demands a lot of deck slots.
There is no duplicate to Mother of Runes. Let's not kid ourselves. Noble Hierarch going to come down turn number 1 here for Tolbert, while Rill has a Deathrite Shaman. And to see 1 Mother of Runes here, I mean, it just opens up what Tolbert can do as far as deck building can go.
Exactly.
That's all. Because normally you just see 4 Mother of Runes in this deck in Death and Taxes, and it's almost an auto-include. And again, Mother of Runes is fantastic in this deck, but it looks like Tolbert's taking a different approach, which has started off pretty well for him thus far, sitting at 2-0, but down a game right now to Eric Rill.
He's much further on the dark side of Dark Maverick than a lot of the other lists I see. Usually they're just touching black for some sideboard cards, but Douglas with Abrupt Decay in his main deck.
See what turn 2 is going to hold here for Tolbert. It's going to be a Stoneforge Mystic. Will this resolve? You see Rill has a Force of Will and a blue card in his hand. A blue card is Brainstorm. Looks like he may have some interest in battling over this. Looks like he might have a Supreme Verdict too, and he's going to use that as the alternate for Force of Will.
He has 1 copy in his sideboard, so none of that going to be going on this game.
One of the best Wrath effects in Legacy. Part of the reason it's blue. Another reason it's uncounterable. Rill going to draw a Flooded Strand for the turn. Going to play that. Let's see what else number 3 on our Season 2 leaderboard wants to do. Just going to pass the turn back over to Tolbert, who's going to pick up a copy of Savannah. And you see his hand right now. It looks like there are 4 lands over there.
Yeah, no, the green Zenith.
Yeah.
So not a good holding here. He can just try to Zenith for 3 here, go get another Reliquary and hope it's good. But he risks losing to a lot of different cards that Eric has. Any counter spell, any Source of Plowshare, and Douglas's hand has really nowhere else to go.
Decisions here for Tolbert. Not an easy one. Does he want to fire off Wasteland, play a Dried Arbor, crack the Rising Canopy, or does he very simply just want to play a Savannah? And it looks like it's going to go with Savannah. Zenith for 3, perhaps? Go get a Knight? He's going to try to. Rill going to take a look at his hand. That's a brainstorming response. Time to go digging. Force of Will among the cards that are drawn. Not sure if he picked up a blue card there or not. It looks like he picked up a Swords of Plowshares, though.
Yeah, so he's got an answer for this Knight, which is what I assume is coming here.
Looks like there might be a Decay in his hand, too, so he's got it covered all the way around.
Yeah. As is often the case with Esper Stoneblade, it is hard to sneak one specific permanent into play and have it be really that impactful.
Yep. This Esper Stoneblade deck is a deck that's very happy with 1-for-1 trading, too. Its cards are just so powerful that it can leverage an advantage with Jace. There is Knight. Best card in Maverick. You see Tolbert's going to shuffle up here from the Zenith. Rill's going to go searching with the Flooded Strand.
The entire rationalization for this deck, there it is, Knight of the Reliquary.
Yep. And the card is that powerful.
And it got even better with Thespian Siege, so now there's actually, you know, a combo kill involved in the deck too, which is really nice.
Rill sacrifices his Flooded Strand. We'll see what land he's going to search for here in just a second. I think he's just waiting for the goal head. Maybe he wants to search for a different land, but he's just going to take the scrub land off the top of his deck that he knew was there from the brainstorm.
And what's critical about Eric getting a scrub land here means that with the scrub land and the Deathrite Shaman, choke is no longer a big concern. Don't know if it's necessarily on Eric's radar, but he is well protected against that card.
There's Swords. Get that Knight out of here. But hey, you get some life.
Nice.
So that's nice. We're going to untap, take a draw.
See, it's totally balanced.
That's exactly what it is. Here's a value. Rill going to use 2 lands to get Stoneforge Mystic. It's time to go searching. Is it Batterskull's Ajite? Perhaps a sword? Watch Rill play a lot. It seems like he seems like to go to Jite a lot more than Batterskull when he plays.
Well, the Maverick deck, there's a couple of reasons to like Jite here. The Maverick deck can overpower Batterskull. I mean, just a 5/5 Knight on defense. Now your Batterskull's not worth very much. And with a Noble Hierarch already in play, there's a pretty big incentive to just try to go to work on his board that way. So I like getting the Jite.
See what Tolbert's got to do on this turn. So he does draw his card. He taps 3 mana. Looks like it's another card, Knight of the Reliquary. But I'm afraid I've got some bad news, because I think an Abrupt Decay might be headed that way. Tolbert going to play Wasteland right now. A lot of good targets here for Wasteland. See which land he wants to target.
I think he's... Okay, he's going after the Tropical. I was going to say, all other things being equal, probably go for the Scrub land since it's his one lone white source of mana with the Stoneforge in play, but I can also say just taxing the blue mana because there's a lot of blue cards in Eric's deck as well.
Abrupt Decay takes care of Knight of the Reliquary. 2 Knights down here for Tolbert. He's trying to get one of those things active because it's so important to his deck. But not able to do so.
It may all be for naught here if Eric is simply able to get a Jite equipped.
There's Deathrite Shaman. Looks like we might see some patience here from Rill.
Yeah, just get the Jite into play in a turn and then start going to work.
Mother of Runes to draw there from Tolbert, just one of those, but does not look safe to deploy at this point.
I think that Douglas probably needs to use a Horizon Canopy here. Try to find Source of Plowshares to at least break this up for 1 turn. Then Mother Runes can get active and maybe you can start working around this Jite.
And, you know, I'd hate, for example, for him to find a Kosali Pride Mage like right now.
Yeah.
Off the Horizon Canopy. Rill going to put the GT into play after the Deathrite Shaman and Stoneforge Mystic activation. So the legendary equipment from Betrayers or Kamigawa into play. Rill picks up a land, has a Force of Will in his hand. Going to play that Tundra. Tap 2, suit up Stoneforge. Red zone we go. I see Tolbert going to consult his hand. But he's got nothing he can do. He's staring at a Horizon Canopy right now. So he says, come on through. 2 counters on the GT. Damage dealt to Tolbert, going to push him down to 21. And now the GT is definitely going to go, removing some counters. Goodbye, Mother of Runes. See if he wants to take care of the Dried Arbor too.
I imagine he just wants to pin Douglas's mana a little bit here.
That's what he's able to do. Take care of the Noble Hierarch and leave the Dried Arbor around for another turn. Tolbert going to play a copy of Horizon Canopy. Going to use that to draw a card, see if he can find anything useful. Doesn't look to be the case. And
Now,
we see Deathrite Shaman activation.
Now the lock is in.
Would we call this a soft lock or the hard lock?
It's a soft lock. Douglas can still break this up with a disenchant effect. Then Abrupt Decay, and he's playing again.
Okay, all right. Felt like a hard lock.
Yeah. Misspoke earlier. There is actually a full playset of other runes in Douglas's deck. Simply his deck registration sheet makes it look like a 1. Yeah. There's some faded ink here, but he is playing the full 4.
We were a little surprised to see only 1 in here, so.
Yeah, and he just drew the second one,
yeah.
So this is why I mentioned it.
Brainstorm going to resolve here. 2 cards going back. Snapcaster Mage and March Flats are the cards in Rill's hand. You see him play the land, and now he's going to get busy in the red zone. Deathrite Shaman may be coming in, but I got a feeling Stoneforge is coming in. And that'll attack by itself. 2 more GT counters coming. And Rill just going to pass the turn back. No interest in taking care of that Dried Arbor just yet as Tolbert draws another land. 2 lands and a Mother of Runes in the hand. Plays a Savannah. And you can just see, you know, part of the reason that Dark Maverick or Maverick decks in general just don't see as much play as they used to like a couple of years ago. Todd Anderson was a huge fan of that deck, did a lot of winning with it, as did Michael Jacob and some others. So it was certainly powerful, but it has difficulty going toe-to-toe with all these great cards from Esper Stoneblade.
Yeah, and True Name Nemesis is kind of the nail in the coffin of all this kind of stuff, too.
Yeah.
There were times where the Dark Maverick deck could overpower something like Anumaza's Jitte, work around a Batterskull, but True Name Nemesis is just too much. Very punishing towards creature decks that are looking to attack on the ground, which ultimately is what Dark Maverick is.
Yeah. Look, I want to play Goblins too, but they won't let me. GT's too much, True Name's too much. Actually, you know, truth be told, every card on Rill's side of the table is too much for Goblins to actually be able to beat. It's these fair creature decks that just really have trouble right now. Mm-hmm. Even though that is kind of ironic to say because Death and Taxes did win last weekend.
Well, that deck is on Disruption Overload.
Yeah.
That's the way you got to do it, I think. Or ignore combat altogether. But if you're looking to, you know, I'm going to attack for 4 and then I'm going to attack for 6, you got to forget that kind of stuff for now.
You've come to the wrong place.
Yeah.
Thoughts he's going to take care of that Mother of Runes. Rill wants to make sure the coast is clear, and he knows it's very clear now. Has a Brainstorm left in his hand that he can choose to cast. Not sure he needs to at this point, but it looks like he is going to cast that. Take a look at 3 cards. See if he finds anything he likes as he gets to keep 1 of those. Among them is a Creeping Tar Pit. So it looks like he's going to put that into play, add a little bit of more damage onto the table. Serve in here with a couple of creatures. Going to pump up his Stoneforge Mystic, it looks like, to get some more damage across here. I don't think there's any way for Tolbert to work himself out of this one now.
Now with the Creeping Tar Pit and the extra creatures in play, this is going to be lethal this turn.
And draws a copy of Marsh Flats in to concede the game. Eric Rill, number 3 on our Season 2 leaderboard. He's 3-0. He's looking to make a run here today with Esper Stoneblade. Defeats Dark Maverick pretty easily.
That's it. Yeah, that's about as easy as it's going to get. You know, you have True Name Nemesis, it was a free win 1 game, and then Douglas kind of flooded out, didn't have an answer to him as I was today. The second game, that is about as easy as you could draw it up.
Pretty straightforward stuff. We've seen Esper Stoneblade before. We're going to see it again, and when it does win, it does do it in pretty dominating fashion because the cards are so gosh darn powerful. For Dark Maverick, again, I mean, it just doesn't seem like the right time for Maverick, which is unfortunate. I know when you were in Detroit, we saw it make top 4, but, you know, its wins are few and far between now, where a couple of years ago, it was everywhere.
It was all over the place, but the deck has just gotten kind of worse with the, you know, the Elves, I feel like, has gotten a lot more refined in its list, and Maverick's no longer good against that kind of deck. Mm-hmm. Of course, True Name Nemesis causes you all sorts of problems. It's not clear to me what this deck does better than Death Attack does, except that you get Knight of the Reliquary, which is a very powerful tool in honest games.
Yeah.